Welcome everyone to Not That Media. My name is John, and in today's video it's the end of the month, which means it's time for another horror haul. So come along with me as I show you October's purchases. October has proven to be a little bit of a bumper month. I have 12 releases that I'm going to go through, and a couple of these I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking on because I have already put videos out for them. So if you see a certain item and you think you'd like to know a little bit more, including a little bit more of a detailed unboxing, please do refer to those videos. They have come out during the month of October because almost all the releases I'm going to show you, I think in fact all of them bar one, are brand new releases for October. So let's start with a DVD. Not a new release, but in many regards one of my most important items this month, and one I'm really happy to get hold of. This is the DVD trilogy of Sleepaway Camp. This is the Region 1 DVD box set released by Anchor Bay back in the early 2000s. Now, I won't spend too much time talking about this because I will be doing a later video on this, but in DVD collectors circles, Anchor Bay collecting circles, and Sleepaway Camp collecting circles, this item here is the holy grail of Sleepaway Camp items, and one that I was so happy to get hold of. This normally, there's two versions of it before I go any further, and the only difference between the two of them is there's an extra disc in the other one, but that goes for normally about £500. This one normally goes for between £200 to £300 new, and I was really lucky to get this for £50 brand new and sealed off eBay. I don't know if the seller just didn't know what he wanted, or he didn't know what he had, or he wanted a quick sale, but this is a crazy good purchase on my part, if I do say so myself. This, just to put it in very quick context, is all three original films on DVD. They're not upscaled, it's not high definition because obviously, as I say, it was early 2000s. But when Anchor Bay released this trilogy in early 2000, they included the Red Cross logo on the front. As you can see, this is the Sleepaway Camp Survival box. Again, I won't show it too much detail because I want to do a unboxing, but it's meant to look like a proper survival kit. And they made the decision to put the American Red Cross on the logo, presumably to make it look more authentic. This actually resulted in a lawsuit and legal threat from the Red Cross to Anchor Bay to state that they are misinforming, advertising, and they are using the Red Cross logo to profit on horror films, when the reality is this is a major serious medical logo. Cease and desist immediately. So what happened was Anchor Bay actually recalled as many copies as they humanly could and re-released it with exactly the same box, just without the Red Cross. Instead, it just said survival camp, survival box or something across the front of it. This is a holy grail item. I'm really happy to have it in my collection. Fantastic. Next up on the 4K front is the 40th anniversary of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is the limited edition, collector's edition 4K box. Again, there is a video I've already done where I've unboxed this in a lot more detail. This is a fantastic release. It came with a certificate of authenticity, and my copy is number 70 of 27,400,000. This is, as far as myself and fans are concerned, the definitive version of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It has this fantastic VHS style looking case. Inside is a steelbook, art cards, poster, etc. The film has never looked better. This was sold out until recently, but there is either additional stock or an alternative version, again on pre-order for mid-November. This thing was £44.99 off HMV. Absolute bargain. Really impressed. Can't wait to see if they do anything with the other sequels, but 40th anniversary, what a way to celebrate. Nightmare on Elm Street. Continuing with the 4Ks, and this one has literally just hit my doorstep, so I'm really happy to be able to show this. There was a chance it wasn't going to be here in time, but this is the 4K Arrow release of Trick or Treat. Again, this is another one that's currently sold out on HMV and other retailers, so do keep an eye on it when you want to get it. It has got the standard case. If I open it up very quickly, it's got a really cool poster in it that is just the same cover art yet again, which is really cool, depicting Sam. It's got some great art cards in it, or cards pictured from the film, which I really like. So you've got the little girl from the bullying segment, you've got the werewolf segment, you've got obviously Brian Cox in the closing segment, Sam, one of the definitive pictures of Sam, the icon of Trick or Treat, the kids on the school bus from the bullying segment. That's one of the darker segments, which is really good. And the last one is, again, it looks like the director talking with Brian Cox, and on the back is the classic image of Sam from Trick or Treat. So it's really cool to get hold of those art cards. It also comes, the green screen's probably going to wipe this out, but it comes with a booklet, again depicting Sam on the front and back. On the inside, it's got the usual bits and pieces, cast and crew, more than a sum of its parts, the use and subversive of horror in Trick or Treat, about the restoration. This is a classic film. This is a must for any Halloween fan. The 4K is rumoured to be really good. The colour's really strong. It's got a plethora of special features, loads of stuff. I think a lot of archival stuff, but a massive amount of special features. This is a strong recommend. Really happy to get hold of this. So rounding off the 4K is Dire Gothic. It is a 4K of 3 ghost movies. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through the 3 cases just to show you them here. They do have interchangeable cases, but I won't show them today. I'll read the synopsises that are off the front of the boxes because I haven't seen any of these films. I'm not familiar with them, but because I'm always looking for some cool ghost stories, and I'm a very big fan of J-horror and Korean horror and things like that. Whenever there's any kind of like ghost stories, I'm always a big fan of them. So the first one, which is this one, which is the Ghost of Yatsuya Aiwa return. I believe it's Aiwa or Aiwa. Aiwa returns from the grave as a horribly disfigured ghost to haunt her husband and his new bride. The second one, which is this one here, which is the Snow Woman. Stick that there. In The Snow Woman, a woodcutter must keep his oath to a vengeful spirit or pay the ultimate price. So the third in this trilogy is The Bride from Hades, in which a noble young samurai falls in love with a beautiful courtesan who he fails to notice is a ghost. Again, like I say, this is a trilogy of ghost stories. I believe looking at the years on them, if very quickly, let's have a quick look. 1968 is The Bride of Hades. The Snow Woman is 1968. And The Ghost of Katsuya is 1959. So these are some really early examples of ghost stories from Japan, Japanese ghost stories. It came, obviously each one comes with its own individual case, comes in this cool box. It comes with a nice, decent, thick book, which has got lots of information about Japanese ghost stories, backgrounds on the stories and all that kind of stuff. Again, something a little bit different. It's not something I normally rush to. I'm not a massive fan of too much Japanese media, but I do enjoy a good Japanese ghost story, and as I say, J-horror. So I believe when I was reading the blurb from HMV, they would say that this is almost the roots that would lead to these greats later. So $44.99 for 3 4Ks in a collector's box, only 4,000 in the world getting created. Absolute bargain. Moving on to Blu-ray box sets now, but keeping one toe in Japanese horror, J-horror Rising is a brand new box set that has come out, and whilst J-horror, when you say it, is normally recognisable for The Ring, The Grudge, The Eye, etc., this is a box set that showcases a number of other J-horror movies coming out at the end of the 90s, early noughties, when the J-horror boom really happened. This contains, it was £44.99, but contains a fantastic 7 feature films. I thought when I first saw this and it had these 7 down, is that these were a succession of shorts or almost like smaller TV movies, but no, these are full features. Each one is between 90 minutes to 2 hours, so 7 movies for $44.99 is an absolute bargain. As with all Wave 1 Arrow video box sets, it does come with a poster, a double-sided poster which showcases the cover art and the alternative art there. That's always a nice little feature in any Arrow video box, the first wave. It comes with a really cool book which showcases and highlights information about all 7 films, has some really cool photos and information, so always really cool on first wave pressings of Arrow video box sets or their collector's editions that you always get these nice little extras, so they're always welcome. Across the 7 movies, they are housed in 4 cases. 3 of these cases contain 1 disc with 2 films on each disc, and the last, Nori the Curse, is on its own disc. Of the 7 movies, I do believe that Nori the Curse is the most recognisable, the most popular, and also the most sought after, so I suspect this is on its own disc because there is intention to release it by itself later. So to just fly through the synopsises, in case you've not heard of them, Nori the Curse, a documentary maker and investigative reporter into the paranormal phenomena, is forced to confront horrors beyond his wildest imagination after following a trail of mysterious events unfolding in the mundane setting of suburban Tokyo. The eerie sound of crying babies, the disappearance of a girl with psychic abilities, the trail of dead pigeons are among the many clues that lead to him to learn about an ancient folkloric black demon known as the Katagaba. This is a really interesting film. I think, again, it is up there with The Ring, The Grudge, and The Eye. This has been long sought after. All of these films are not available outside of Japan. This, though, is the first time it has ever been released. It's newly remastered and the first home media appearance outside of Japan. So, Nori the Curse, it's worth buying just for this one film. I'm not going to go through the other 6 synopsises. They're all very good, and I want to keep this video nice and tight. The only 2 we haven't watched so far, because we've watched 5 out of 7, is Carved, The Slit-Mouthed Woman, and Persona, which is housed on that disc. But these 2 discs, which contain Shikoku and Isola Multiple Personality Girl, really good, really fun J-horror. If you enjoy your your Japanese folklore, your ghosts of long-haired women and things like that, these films have got your back. The other 2, Inokama, that was an interesting one because that had all to do with a family curse and a woman cursed as a result of her past, and then that obviously changes her future. Again, it's fairly standard J-horror stuff, but it is very good. St. John's Wort was an interesting one because the only way I can describe that is it's like somebody tried to record playing like a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill or a Clock Tower game. In effect, it is filmed as if it was a video game. So when the main characters are interacting with other characters, they appear as NPCs with dialogue boxes and things like that. All the camera angles are very Resident Evil. Up in the top right corner, wandering around a gothic mansion. It's a great idea. It's a pretty good story. The execution wasn't quite there. It probably could be done better, but really fascinating. And again, for seven films for £45, this is a real bargain, this box set. J-Horror Rising, a real recommend. One last box set before I jump into individual releases, and it is Hell House LLC The Collection. This is imported from Australia. It is an Umbrella Entertainment release. There is only, I believe, 5,000 of this being created. It is a special edition. It will sell out, but it contains, at the time of recording, the entire collection of Hell House LLC. If you are familiar with this franchise, then you will know it is available to stream. It is an ongoing franchise which all revolves around the Abaddon Hotel, which at one point was the scene for many murders and satanic rituals, and was then later turned into a Halloween Horror Night style experience called Hell House. The events of that are played out via documentary footage, first person, like kind of live feeds, newspaper articles, all kinds of bits and pieces. There are 4 films in the franchise. Really good. Love this lenticular cover here that changes as you move it. It comes with, because it's a collector's edition box, it does have posters for every single one of these films. It does also contain all kinds of stuff, such as cards for the films. I won't get these out again because, as I say, I've already done this in my video. Do go and check that out. And there is a really cool hardback book. This is a collector's item. It is region B, so if you are in the UK, you can pick this up. You do have to pay, obviously, delivery charges. I think I paid without delivery charges, about $80, which I think translates to about £60. So for 4 films, 4 Blu-rays in a collector's box, fantastic lenticular cover, posters, art cards, everything else. This was a real bargain and a great franchise. So moving to new releases now, and there was a good number of horror films coming out in October. We'll start with A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, I had my reservations about A Quiet Place Day 1. I think the first 2 are fantastic, really good films, but because of the lack of Emily Blunt and John Krasinski now moving more into the writing only as opposed to directing and acting, I did have my reservations for A Quiet Place Day 1. Could they repeat that magic? What is there to tell you in Day 1 which we don't already know? I have to confess, this is a very scary film. It actually had me and my wife on the edge of our seat quite a few times. Maybe it's because we're cat lovers. Maybe it's because, for once, as opposed to the first 2 where you only ever really encounter 1 or 2 of the creatures, these things are everywhere. They're ripping everything apart. There's some fantastic scenes, some fantastic connections to The Quiet Place 2. It's played out really well. It's genuinely heart-jumping. It's very scary. Well worth your attention. Really well done. All the actors in it are a fantastic choice. I think A Quiet Place is one of the best modern franchises. I hope there are more. I hope we continue along this timeline as well and follow the actors and characters from Quiet Place of Day 1, or if not, when we come back later with Emily Blunt, etc., we might meet up with a few of those characters again. It's great, high on scares, high on tension. Don't listen to what Rotten Tomatoes and critics are saying. If you liked the first 2 Quiet Places, you will enjoy this Quiet Place. Next on the list is another Arrow video release, and it is the infamous The Exorcist II: The Heretic. Now, I have to confess, at the time of recording, I still have not watched this film. I really do want to watch it. Earlier in this year, in one of my other unboxing or hauling videos, I should say, you probably noticed that I imported a Scream Factory version of The Exorcist II. As far as I'm aware, outside of a box set, this is the first time Exorcist II has been released in the UK on Blu-ray. It's got a fantastic load of extras in it. It's got two versions of the film, one that's 25 minutes longer and one which is the theatrical cut. This is a film which is categorically regarded as one of the worst Exorcist movies. I will make my own decision for that. I think if you are a collector, you can't just skip parts of it. So I already owned the Exorcist 1, Exorcist 3 and Exorcist Believer. I think a lot of people are now going back and looking over this again after the result of Exorcist Believer. The Blu-ray itself is a limited edition. It's got a cool book in it and art cards. For those of you who are interested in the synopsis of The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, it has been 4 years since the exorcism that saved the life of Reagan and caused the deaths of Lancaster Merrin and Damien Karras, the priest who helped her. Reagan remembers nothing, but her therapist, Dr. Tuskin, believes those memories are simply repressed and waiting. Meanwhile, Father Philip Lamont has his own faith shaken by a failed exorcism. He is tasked by the Vatican into investigating Father Merrin, who faces posthumous charges of heresy for his controversial writings. His investigation will lead him to Africa, New York and Georgetown as he and Reagan are drawn together in a spiritual battle that encircles the globe. It does have within it a interchangeable sleeve again. Well, the one I really like, that's the normal poster, I believe, the one with Reagan, Linda Blair and the characters, or the new art which has been done for this set. As I say, this film is infamous for being regarded as bad. Like I say, I look forward to watching it. There is a lot of behind the scenes stories I've heard about this film, that its two lead actors and actresses were either high as a kite or drunk as a skunk. So I'm interested to see why this film is regarded so badly. But I have seen people turn around and say it's nowhere near as bad as people think. I think the trouble is, because Exorcist 2 is obviously sandwiched between the fantastic Exorcist 1 and the incredible Exorcist 3, there's always going to be the one that's at the bottom of the pile. But it's Arrow Video, it's a special limited edition release. I wasn't going to ignore it, so always good to add to the collection. Next up is Shudder's Late Night with the Devil. Really happy to get hold of this, and hot off the press, this hit the doormat just before I started recording, so I was really happy with it. It's set Halloween 1977, and a failing late night talk show host has promised that he will deliver the world's first on-screen possession. It will be seen live for the world. There's a lot more to it. It's a great film. It's got a fantastic 1970s aesthetic. It looks great, sounds great. It's got a load of special features, which again, when these are Shudder releases, I'm really happy to see. It's got new commentaries, Q&As, behind the scenes. It's got all kinds of bits and pieces in it. It's really well done. Strong recommend. If you haven't seen this film, it is streaming on Shudder. It's Halloween. Do go and enjoy it. This is a really good film. It's not an underrated classic because it is actually getting a lot of attention, but if you haven't seen it, give it a look. Now, next up is one that is a little bit of a curiosity for me because it is Longlegs. Now, again, this is another that has just literally come out in the last day or so on Blu-ray. I managed to get it a couple of days early, so I was able to sit and watch it. And I have to confess, I thought this was a fantastic film. However, I do think it is somewhat misadvertised. So if you are somebody who has only seen the trailers, a lot of the trailers seem to focus on the fact that Nicolas Cage was in it playing a horror character, his first appearance as a, quote, monster character. I don't want to say it was misadvertised, but there was a lot of fuss about the lead actress's heart rate going through the roof and people being terrified of Nicolas Cage and things like that. This is a great film. If you like Silence of the Lambs and those kind of like FBI pursuit films and Seven and things like that, this film's got your back. It's very good. It's got a lot of satanic influence in it. It's got a real good mystery that takes its time to unfold. It's well worth a look. But what I would say is its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. Nicolas Cage is fantastic. He is genuinely scary. He is genuinely interesting to watch. He does play a proper character. But unfortunately, I think that because it is Nicolas Cage and a lot of the mannerisms and weird tics and screaming and shouting at the top of his voice, I think because it's Nicolas Cage, I found it difficult to get frightened of that because it kind of made me laugh because it's Nicolas Cage. So if you're not influenced by things like that, I'm sure you'll have a great time. It's a fantastic story, genuinely creepy, genuinely unnerving. It's got a couple of really good harrowing scenes in it that's well worth watching. It's got the subject matter of family and child death in it, which is never a laughing matter. But like I say, it's difficult to become 100% invested in the scares when Nicolas Cage is screaming at the top of his voice. And if you YouTube Nicolas Cage out of character and things like that, he becomes somewhat of a situation of comedy or ridicule. So this is a great film, well worth watching. It will get watched again. The bonus features is on-set interviews. I think there's a couple of teaser trailers and things like that. It's well worth your attention. So last but one for October's releases is Maxine, the concluding part of the currently Ty West trilogy of movies involving Mia Goth. Now, I have to confess, this year is the first year I have actually, me and my wife have sat down to watch the quote-unquote X trilogy. There are rumours of a fourth movie, so, you know, I put a big asterisk next to the word trilogy there. I think X was a great film, very unnerving, very scary. I really enjoyed the subtext. I really enjoyed the fact that the quote killers were not just your normal black and white creatures. They were quite unnerving and uncomfortable and unpleasant. I think Mia Goth, as a relatively new actress, I think she looks terrifyingly like Shelley Duvall, but it's one of those where I think these films primarily showcase her acting ability and is very good. Pearl was, I don't want to say Pearl was a little bit of a letdown, but a lot of fans and certainly a lot of cosplayers and things like that, they love to dress up as Pearl or talk about how great Pearl is. Pearl is a very good film. I just didn't think it was quite as good as X. By the time Maxine was released, we hadn't seen obviously the first two. Having now seen the first two, there was relatively an amount of excitement for Maxine. I didn't want to go to the cinema to see it, but I obviously, as soon as the Blu-ray was going to come out, going to jump on it. This is a really good film, and I'm going to put my cards on the table here. Be very controversial for some out there, I'm sure. And I believe that Maxine is the best of the X trilogy, and my wife agrees with me. I think what I would say is that Pearl, X and Maxine, or X, Pearl, Maxine if you talk about them in release order, are three very different films in three very different time periods. So if you're a massive fan of X and you're expecting Maxine to be X, you will be disappointed. If you're a fan of Pearl and you expect Maxine to be like Pearl, you will be disappointed. But I would say the same for anything. If you're a fan of Maxine and you haven't watched the other two, you'll probably be disappointed. They're three totally different films set in totally different eras. They are homages to three totally different time periods. I think Maxine is the best of the three. I'm trying to keep the story as relatively spoiler-free as possible because this is a new release. After the events of X, Maxine has been working in Hollywood as an adult artist. She is trying her hardest to get into mainstream movies, and just as she starts to get her opportunity, people start to die around her, people who are connected to her, and at the same time, it may or may not be starting to unravel the mystery of what happened in X, because, mild spoiler here, but obviously Maxine is the only survivor of X, and what happened on that fateful day is only known between her and a video camera that was documenting the whole thing by accident. So she's trying to keep her secret. However, as the story goes on, there is a mystery that starts to connect back to X. There is a fantastic use of the Bates Motel set from Universal Studios. There's some amazing actors in it. Kevin Bacon arguably steals the show a little bit. So many faces you would recognise. It eating and sweating and drinking the 80s. It's really well done, really enjoyed it. And also, it's one of those films where it's nice to actually root for a character. I think sometimes when you try to explain to people that what's Maxine about? Well, basically it's about a porn star who survived a murder spree and people start dying around her when she starts to get a break. That doesn't sound like a very nice character. I think Maxine is a great character. I think she's a fantastic final girl. I think her road to success is paved with blood as much as anything else, but she is a fantastic character. Mia Goth, once again, firing on all cylinders. This is a strong film. It doesn't have any extras on it, the Blu-rays, what I would say, which is a little bit of a disappointment. This is very much a vanilla release. Maybe there'll be a better version later or a 4K, and I might invest in that if it has some decent extras. But Maxine and the whole Ty West X trilogy, they are a strong recommend, but in my opinion, Maxine is the best of the trilogy. So finishing off my October horror haul with one more movie, we have You Might Be the Killer. This is a Blu-ray from an organisation called Treasured Films, who are a relatively young and up-and-coming company. They don't have many releases, but this is one of them. It is available only in the UK, or is delivered only in the UK, so if you're outside of the UK, you may have to resort to eBay. This is the version directly from Treasured Films, and is the collector's edition, which came with a little bit more than the standard version has in if you buy it from HMV or anywhere else. else. So because it's the direct version from the website, you get a poster of the new artwork that they have for this release, and the standard "You Might Be the Killer" poster, which you should recognize if you've seen this film. Along with the poster, the special edition also came with a magnet of the killer, which I was quite impressed with, and the case also comes with a book which has got information and bits and pieces and art and pictures from the film. This is a little bit of a collector's dream. It's really nice when these kind of cult classic or under the radar horror movies get their own release, but also when they get a decent release. The case itself as well, obviously you've got the cardboard. There are I believe 3 covers. So you have the cardboard one here, you have this sleeve here, which is one of the alternatives, and there is another one on the inside, which again is the standard cover for the movie. This was an absolute bargain. I believe I paid £18 for this. It is a limited edition release. It doesn't specify how many there are, but it is a limited pressing. So if you're looking to get a copy of this film, it's well worth looking at it. If you've never heard of this film, to read the back, it says, "You Might Be the Killer" is the story of Sam, a regular guy who finds himself on the run from a masked serial killer, the Woodcarver, who has been brutally murdering his fellow camp counselors at Camp Clear Vista. Desperate, Sam reaches out to his friend Chuck, who is an expert in all things horror. She becomes Sam's lifeline as he tries to evade death by avoiding common horror tropes and save his friends. But when Chuck challenges Sam with the notion that Sam himself might be the killer, Sam must race to uncover the haunting truth of the masked maniac's identity and the mask's supernatural power, all before it's too late. So it's a very good kind of meta slasher in that vein of Scream and things like that, but I think this one's a little bit more self-aware of itself. The Blu-ray's got some fantastic special features. It's got new interviews, new documentaries, it's got commentaries, all kinds of bits and pieces, image galleries. Like I say, I'm always a big fan when a straight-to-streaming movie gets a limited edition Blu-ray run. This is a bargain. This is a great film. If you don't want to buy it, but you're looking for a film recommendation over the Halloween period, You Might Be the Killer is a great fun time. So again, it's on Shudder. It is free. Check that film out. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm hoping it was just a quick one, just to give you an idea of what's come through. October's been a great month for Halloween and horror movies, so long may it continue. It's always fun to have an October as a bit of a bumper month. I didn't want to go into too much detail. Like I said, the Hell House Blu-ray and the Nightmare on Elm Street Blu-ray, I've already done a much more detailed box set. I will be doing a more detailed unboxing and background of the Sleepaway box set, and the others are all recommends. I recommend all the films if you can get them. Like I say, many of them are streaming for free on Shudder and probably other services, so do go and check them out. However, if you're looking for some of these, they are collector's editions, like I say, limited edition numbers, so you have to be in it to win it. If you want to get them, I recommend you get them sooner rather than later. So until next time, please do like and subscribe, continue to follow my videos. Until next time, stay scared.